And worse than everything is the government and the billionaire and millionaire is help them just to make the money for themselves more and more. And I think don't think about anything, just they wanted to put the money in their pocket. That's it. Maybe they help, but if they compare is the help and they gather the money, is the is not the scale is heavy for the gather the money.
Right. Okay. Now, I want to talk about it too, but I don't want to say too much because, as you guys know, this is an assignment. We're wrapping it up next week. And then for sure, I promise you guys, once you've got it submitted, I definitely want to have a chance to decompress with everybody,
Yes.
Yeah, for the time being, just keep your notes, keep your mental notes about it, because I certainly want to hear from you guys about all this, All right. Well, hopefully you see some value in the assignment. It's all about, critical thinking, right? About how you digest the information, and then afterwards you're going to do a little bit of research, do a little bit of sort of analysis with some reviews of the movie, and then see what you think about it afterwards. All right, guys. So what about the rest of your classes? Everything going smoothly for you guys?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, good.
All right. So today we got a few things to do. I don't know, I guess there's a couple of sort of priorities. One is I'd like to maybe drill down into our groups a little bit, maybe towards the end of the lecture, for those who haven't put together groups yet, don't panic, but at the same time, we should probably start finalizing that. And I am going to recap. So I had a lecture on carbon and climate change. And I know I try to make it kind of short and sweet, but at the same time, that makes it hard to explain some of the more technical aspects. So I don't want you guys to feel like you need to know all of the technical details about last week's climate change lecture. Just a couple of points. And the one that I think I'll review with you guys is just when I get into Dutch disease, because there's a lot of sort of more technical stuff in the slides, but I don't want you to feel like you need to memorize it. So we will go through that. We'll just recap that. Then we'll have our lecture, our scheduled lecture for today is focused on teamwork and presentation skills. So in the world of world geography, you're going to need these peripheral skills to help you succeed. So that's kind of like a skill set that is supporting all the geography skills that we're going to develop this semester. And then at the end, we'll go over the assignments a little bit, just to the extent that I want to try to encourage you guys to form some teams while we're in class here, or even after the fact, if you feel more comfortable doing it that way. Okay. Anything on your minds before we get started, then, guys?
I have a thing in my mind, because can you make a link so we can make group over there? I know we two of them are ready to make a group, but we need 2 more people. So.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll do I could do like a shared Google form or something like that. Would you guys like that?
Or on a Blackboard, because a group, so everyone can, if someone wants to join our group, they can. They can
see, yeah. So I can do that with a link to like a Google form, which would be like a link to a spreadsheet. You know what I mean? And it'll have your name.
So have you received any? Sorry about that. Have you received any emails from other students? They are already make the groups, or it's just?
I've got 2 groups that have been formed already.
Okay.
So I emails from those students, and I'm in this section. I'm trying to think now. I don't know if I've received anything directly for someone looking for a group in this section.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look. But I do
Yeah.
have a few groups that have been put together.
Excuse me, I wanted to send a message to you today about put
Okay.
me in the one group because I can't find the other group, or the join them.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I know I encourage it, guys. Just let me know, and I'll start a sign-up sheet, and maybe that'll encourage you guys to do it. And then if you can't find anybody on the sign-up sheet, just send me an email, sometime later this week, and we can get you in a group, in reasonable time, right? Because in week 7 is when we're going to be doing the infographic presentation, so there's time, right? But still, sooner than later is better to have some groups put together, right?
Hi, Professor. I have a question.
Hello.
Yeah, is there
Yeah.
any WhatsApp group? There we can form a group if that would be easy.
Sorry, say that again.
Is there any WhatsApp group? We can form groups over there. That would be easy, I would say.
Yeah, so I have some groups that have been formed, but I don't have any partial groups right now. So if you want to form, I'm encouraging you guys to form a group on your own. But if you don't know anybody, I'm saying just reach out to me,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so just send me
Yeah.
later this week. So,
Okay.
so in the meantime, so you know what, I'm just gonna, we may as well do it now, right? So let's see, share my browser. You guys can see that. Okay, so if I go to forms, I'm looking for the spreadsheet. Or if I'm looking for Google Sheets. There we go, Sheets. Ah, there it is. Okay, we'll do a new one. We'll call it NAT155. You guys are section NRB. We'll call it Country Project Groups. Okay. So here you're going to put your country, team member number 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And here. Country project report. Okay. So all right, so here's a sheet you guys can use. And you can just line up your groups this way. expect that we will have probably 10, 12 groups. Well, maybe less, actually, 8 or 9. Okay, so I'm going to put this link on our course page. Share. And we'll copy the link to our here we go. World Geography NRD. Created announcements. So this should give you guys an opportunity to join a group or remove yourself from a group. Group. Sheet. Here. Okay. So now you should see it there, guys. So I encourage you to take some initiative. If you're interested in working on a particular country, for example, right? You can put the country name in there and put your own name here, and then maybe some other people will join you. If you're not able to, find some people to join you, then I'll just put the teams together. Countries are available on a first come, first served basis. So you want to use, you use your time, right? Like try to get signed up before someone else maybe takes the country that you're interested in working in. Ideally, teams of four would be ideal. If it ends up being a team of 3, it's maybe not the end of the world. Okay.
Excuse me.
And then, sorry?
Excuse me, I tried to open the link, but it's asked about the access code. You need access.
No.
And they said request for access. We need to send the email for you.
No, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to do it again. Sorry. I had too much security on there. Let's try this again. Okay, I just reshared it. So if you refresh your screen and you click on it now, you see it?
I tried again, just 1 second.
Just refresh your screen.
Yes, I tried again. Yes, we can see that now. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, guys, so I encourage you to do that. If you don't want to sign up on the sign up sheet and you want me to just put you in a group, just email me so that I know you're looking for a group, and I will do that. Towards the end of this week, once groups are starting to fill out, I'll put you in a group with 3 other people. Okay? You can't.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
No problem. Now, hang on. I gave you guys viewers, so now I have to give you editor roles. Sorry, this is the 3rd time I'm going to update it. Sorry, guys. Hey, we're all learning together, right? Okay, let's try this. Okay. Now, I've got a link that you can edit. All right, and I think now if you go in and refresh your screen, maybe Chuck, if you can try that just to see if it works now, if you can edit. Maybe you have to close it and open through the new link I sent, like the.
Yes, we can edit it.
Woohoo! All right, guys. Terrific. Thanks, guys. So whatever, it takes a few extra minutes, but now you guys can start working away independently. And if you're having trouble, just let me know, and of course I'll help you find a group. Okay. All right. Okay. So good luck with that, and by all means, communicate with me if you if you need some help. Okay, so let's move on to our lecture for the day. So I'm just going to revisit the last part of the carbon and climate change lecture that I think I rushed through a little bit, that maybe I just wanted to sort of explain in a little bit more detail for you guys, okay? So we'll start with that. So I spent some time in the recorded lecture last week talking about carbon and climate change, and Canada, you know, playing a role in that, because we're a pretty big oil country. You know, people don't always think of Canada as an oil country, but we actually have a lot of oil. And one of the things that has come out about Canada being an oil country is that we are at risk of a condition called Dutch disease. So Dutch disease is not an actual medical disease, okay? It's an economic phenomenon. It's an economic issue that happens sometimes. Oh, you can't see the slide. Oh, man. Great. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, just tell me if, sorry guys, I'm new to Teams and Zoom and all this stuff, so I apologize if, thanks, Marianne. Okay, everybody see that now? You can see this, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great. Okay, so yeah, so when you have a lot of resources like we do, we have a lot of oil, we're at risk of Dutch disease. So let me tell you what this is all about. So it started back 40 years ago, even more now, like 60 years ago in the Netherlands. They discovered massive offshore natural gas reserves, okay? They had a lot of oil and gas that they found that belonged to the Netherlands, okay? And they really had a big, when I say an explosion, I don't mean a literal explosion, I mean big economic growth, right? In the oil and gas sector. So a lot of foreign companies came to the Netherlands and said, hey, we want to help, we want to grow this industry here. And they started, you know, developing some mining for oil and gas and refineries and all of the industries that are associated with oil and gas. But what they found was that over some number of years, all the other industries, the other export industries, like clothing manufacturing and food production, the other industries began to suffer, okay? And I'll explain to you how this works, okay? So what is Dutch disease? Essentially, there's a sequence of events where, for starters, to begin, you have this newfound natural resource, okay? And that's what the Dutch people had in the Netherlands with their natural gas. And when you find this new natural resource, a lot of people, a lot of investors, right, from around the world, some wealthy Chinese business people, wealthy Americans, you know, rich people from Europe, companies, they come in and say, hey, we want to exploit this resource. So we want to pull some of these oil and gas reserves out of the ground and refine them and ship them off for a profit, okay? And when that happens, when you have a lot of foreign money, marking things up here, when you have a lot of money flowing into your country, it leads to the appreciation of the currency. And when I say currency appreciation, do you guys know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean?
The currency appreciation is when the country's currency becomes more valuable compared to others. So the exports becoming more expensive.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So you're even a step ahead of me there. That's great. So your dollars become worth more in comparison to other dollars, okay? So if we're talking about Canada, for example, when the Canadian currency appreciates, it means our currency is worth more than, say, American dollars, okay? So exactly like my friend said in the comments, when this happens, and you don't have to know all of the details, but this is a part that I want you guys to understand, okay? When your money becomes more valuable, it makes your exports become more expensive, okay? So let's say let's go back to the Netherlands. If I'm a shoe manufacturer, here's my cool shoes, right? And I'll put a B on it for Braden, that's my name. I've been running my shoe manufacturing company for 20 years, right? And selling my shoes all over Europe, to Spain and France and England and other places, okay? If my country's currency, my country's dollars go up suddenly, the cost of these shoes go up as well because I'm selling them in my own currency, dollars, okay? So, of course, if let's say now you are a consumer in Spain and you say, oh, I like those Braden shoes, those are pretty cool, but you know what? They cost so much more than Nikes now. They didn't used to be that expensive, but now they're so expensive. This is what happens with all of the other exports in the economy, okay? Other than oil and gas, everything becomes more expensive because your currency has become more valuable. Ooh, I gotta get rid of these. How do I delete my drawings? Clear, all drawings, there we go. Okay, all right, so a lot of times we think, well, having a strong currency, like when we say the Canadian dollar is strong or the American dollar is strong, usually we think of that as a good thing. And it kind of is a good thing because it means people want to invest in our country. Okay, people are investing in our businesses, in our country, in our resources. The problem is if it changes too much too quickly, it's a shock to our economic system. Okay? And so again, I don't want you guys to feel like you need to know all of the technical details here. I don't want you to feel like you need to know every aspect of this, but this is, in summary, this is how Dutch disease works, okay? So if you have a spike in some resources, right? So in this case, let's say we're talking about oil. You find lots of oil. Suddenly, other people from around the world start to say, hey, that's interesting. I want to go invest my money in that country, okay? So a spike in your oil reserves becomes a spike in what we call foreign investment. Okay? And when that happens, your dollars go up, dollars value, your currency appreciates, okay? And other industries like Braden's shoe manufacturing or, you know, Marianne's farm products, you know, whatever, right? Anything else that you're creating and producing in your economy is going to suffer, particularly if you're selling it as an export overseas, okay? Is that sort of clear for you guys? I know I'm giving you a big concept and I'm trying to summarize it in a kind of a, you know, basic way. And sometimes it's not super clear when I do that, but yeah, hopefully that makes some sense for you, okay? And so the reason I bring it up is that, you know, Canada has to be careful, okay? Canada needs to be very systematic and very careful in how it develops its oil resources. Because if you grow your oil sector too quickly, too fast, right, then you're going to get that in foreign investment, shocking increase to the currency. And you're, you know, in Canada, for example, I've got some examples here. I won't go into the examples in great detail, but you can read through them if you want. Ford F-150s are an example. These are trucks that are manufactured in Canada and the US, okay? And so when the Canadian dollar is not too strong, Ford Motor Company says, hey, let's build them in Canada. It's cheaper to build them in Canada. But when the Canadian dollar is very strong, they say, no, we're not going to build it in Canada. We're going to build these trucks in the US. And that means we lose jobs, we lose economic opportunities in Canada, okay? So That's all I wanted to kind of revisit in Dutch disease, in terms of Dutch disease. And when it comes to, sort of what I want you to sort of take away and remember from the course, just the very sort of high level general concept that I drew you up, where an increase in resources is an increase in investment, is an increase in currency, and that leads to the collapse of some export industries. Okay. All right. So it was at this point that I was going to talk to you guys a little bit about the group assignments, but it looks like, we've already covered most of that, right? What I'm looking for you guys to do is to either form a group and pick a country, or email me with your information. Say, hey, I don't have a group and I would like to be paired with some group members, and I can help you do that. Because we have to keep our eyes, now it's about a month away, right? About 4 weeks before we do the infographic, and then you're gonna have a country report the following week, okay? I think you guys are gonna enjoy that project where you just try to look at different components of an economy. Now, as a couple of us started out earlier, I loved hearing from you about this assignment. It sounds like, you guys really were impacted by the film, and I think that's great. This is a 10% assignment that's due next week, The Planet of the Humans. You just have to watch the movie. It's about an hour and 40 minutes, right? And then, honestly, answering the questions is like 1 to 2 pages. It's pretty quick, right? Every question I ask is, I say, give me in 3 or 4 sentences, give me your impressions or give me your summary of this and that, okay? So it's not too long. It's watching the movie is probably the longest part. Then I want you to find some reviews, right? Find a couple of reviews and then you address it from there. Okay, so that is where we are with the assignments.
Sir, that is due Friday?
Yeah, of next week.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Friday of week 4. Okay, guys. I think it's 11:59 on the assignment description. Great. Okay, so find 3 partners, or I'll find them for you, and yeah, read through the assignment descriptions if you haven't already. But those assignments, there's no I don't give you any really specific criteria that I want you to look at. I want you to treat any country is going to be unique, and I want you to choose. Maybe I want to focus on politics and economics, or maybe I want to focus on environment and social sustainability, right? It's whatever you think is most important, because with these assignments, you're telling the story of the country that you choose, okay? And so if you look at the rubrics that are there, I think they give you some good guidance in terms of just kind of like what I'm looking for, but really, I want you to have fun. Choose a country that you want to learn about and enjoy it. Okay, any other questions, guys, about assignments or anything, or shall I move forward with this week's lecture stuff?
Yeah, Professor, I have just one question. So there is no limitation on the country choice, right?
No, other than to say that this is great. I just looked at the sheet here while you're talking, and a whole bunch of people are signing up, so that's great. The only limitation is that I don't want teams doing the same country. Okay.
Okay.
So I see some of you guys that have put your country in, and that's good. Thank you for doing that. Because I think so Team Korea, you guys had already been formed, and there might have been one other team that was formed here. So yeah, no limitations, whatever you're interested in doing. Okay, this is great. All right, let me get back to my Zoom. Go share my PowerPoint. Okay, any Raptors fans here, guys? Basketball fan? Not really?
I love Brooklyn, man.
Brooklyn, okay. They got
Try it.
good players here. Yeah. Well, in 2019, we were lucky here in Toronto. We had a championship NBA team, and that was great. And I use them as an example here because, you know, the skill set of the players is something that's worth talking about. So when we talk about teams, you guys are going to be working in teams here, right? The definition is it's a small number of people, right, with complementary skill sets. And what we mean by that, complementary, means the skills are not all the same, right? So you'll notice this in your professional lives. Like when they put teams of people together, they, you know, it's not going to be like 4 engineers, right, or 4 project managers, maybe on specific projects. But generally speaking, you want people with different skills. And when you look at these guys, this guy here, Kawhi, very good at scoring, right? Very good at scoring baskets. This guy here, Kyle Lowry, he was good at, you know, distributing the ball, passing the ball to his teammates, right? This guy, Serge Ibaka, really good at getting the ball back. When the other team had the ball, he could go get it back, right? So all different skills, right? And when you put them together, it makes for good team chemistry, a solid team, a solid foundation, okay? And so this is maybe a term that you guys have heard before. You guys familiar with the term synergy? Know a little bit about that?
It's a 2 word combination. Energy, and the first one is sync. Sync.
Yeah.
Sync.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So literal, that's real. I haven't heard a student say that before, so yeah, that's right on. So syncing the energy of the group, right? Synchronized energy. You guys like the way I'm writing on this? Do my letters look pretty good here, guys?
Perfect.
Those are beautiful.
Thank you. Right. So sync energy, right? And a way I would like you guys to think about this term, okay, is this. Okay, 1 + 1 equals 3. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Promise, it's not because I have bad math skills that I say that.
It's again something related to your skills, the brain skills, brainstorming.
Yeah, you do lots of brainstorming. You synchronize your energy, like you said here, right? And it leads to some output, right? That is more than the sum of all the inputs. You know what I mean? So if in teamwork you just produce the same amount as you would if you were working individually, then there would be no point to put you in teams, right? It would just be like, okay, just work on your own. Everybody work on their own. But what happens when we sync our energy, when teams become sort of highly effective, right? Then the individual contributions end up producing more than they would produce by themselves. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody, okay? It's really right here is where it's summarized. It's that the group's total output exceeds the sum of the individual contributions. All right. So that's the goal. That's what I hope you guys are able to achieve in your teams this semester, right? And in your future lives, in your professional lives, in your workplaces. That's going to be the goal of your employers as well. They're going to put you in teams sometimes in the hope that you can do a lot of good work, right? Now, maybe as students, maybe you guys know this. There's always potential disadvantages of working in teams as well, right? Sometimes we have teams that are so good, they get along so well that they end up, you get together and it's like oh, what did you do this weekend? Oh yeah, where are you going to go for dinner? And people end up wasting time because they have good team chemistry, right? But they're not being productive. So that's sometimes a problem, right? This idea, social loafing, right? So that's like this guy right here. You see that everyone else is working hard, so maybe I don't have to work too hard, right? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's groupthink where, you know, we all want to try to get along, right? We want to try to work together, and we end up not proposing new ideas, right? So that's one of the dangers of teamwork, is that we want to make sure we keep, you know, like someone mentioned brainstorming, right? Keep going with the brainstorming, keep coming up with new ideas, okay? There's all these roles, and a lot of times, sometimes people will say, I want to be the coordinator and the person who's the finisher, like I want to finish the editing and that kind of thing. But a lot of times we just arrive at these roles like what we call organically. So like you just kind of take on the role, even though nobody told you specifically that, hey, you're the motivator here, right? Maybe that's just in your nature. But either way, all of these different roles you see here are things that team members are doing when they're working together, right? You have to solve problems. You have to motivate each other, right? You have to pull the whole product together and so on. So we all assume different roles. Now, there's some important kind of rules of engagement here, right? So you have to trust people. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term like a type A personality, right? Sometimes it's someone who's got, you know, good organization, good leadership, but they have to learn to let go a little bit too, right? Because they want to control the group dynamic. But when you're working in teams, it's important to, you know, let everybody have their voice, let everybody contribute, you know? You have to obviously display high levels of cooperation, collaboration, right? You got to be willing to work together with people. Definitely, it's so valuable to recognize other people's accomplishments. So if somebody did a really good job on a presentation on your team, you have to say so, right? Hey, Dong Hyun, you did an amazing job on that presentation. You're encouraging them to do more good work, right, in a team environment. How do you guys feel about giving and receiving criticism? What do you guys think about that? Is that easy to do? Is it easy to give critical feedback or to hear critical feedback from people?
I think it's hard to absorb, but it's a good way to make your thing and positive. Sometimes criticism, it's good for your project or your team or your work, because you get to know the other people opinion. And I think when we working in a team, we respect everyone's opinion.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Sonia. So yeah, for sure. I think it's important. If we want to do a good job, we have to be able to criticize each other's work. Now, that being said, how do we do it, right? You guys know the expression, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay? So for example, let's say, I don't know, my friend Abhishek did the introduction, right? And I say, whoa, your introduction really missed the part about the country's economy. That doesn't sound very positive, right? The criticism I'm giving is pretty negative. But what if I said, hey, Abhishek, excellent job on the introduction. Like, really, thanks for doing that for the team. Do you think that we could do just a little bit more on the economy part? Does that sound better? A little bit better, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Abhishek, your feelings aren't hurt now because I said it that way?
No, I feel better than the previous ones.
Exactly, right? And that's how it takes some practice. We got to learn how to do it that way, right? But I do it with my colleagues, right? My fellow professors, we work on things together. We do course development stuff, and we have to be able to critique each other's work. But of course, you don't want to tell someone they're doing a terrible job. You just want to say, identify the areas for improvement. So the other part of it is hey, we got to make sure we can receive the criticism. So if someone's saying that to us in that way, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe I did, I did do a good job, but maybe I didn't focus on economics enough. So let me do a little bit more for that part. Okay. So be prepared for that, guys. I encourage you to do it, and I encourage you to do it in a way that is positive and constructive, right? To give and to receive criticism. Sharing the glory. So if you get an A+ on your paper, right? It's not just about you, right? It's about your whole team. So make sure everybody gets recognized, because this supports more and better teamwork, right? And also we have to resist the urge. Sometimes there's people, they see somebody achieve something or accomplish something, and they want to put it down. They want to sort of minimize that. So we got to avoid that, right? Okay. So of course, when we're doing teamwork, there's always going to be sometimes a decision to make, a problem to solve, right? We hit a roadblock and we say, okay, we have to find a solution, okay? And there's kind of like a couple of opposite ways of doing it, okay? So first off, we want to avoid just bringing our own sort of politics into the decision. And when I talk politics, I don't mean like, going to vote, right? I'm talking about like our biases, our personal opinions, right? We don't want to just bring our own ideas in. We want to make sure we're doing what's best for the group. So instead of being political, we want to be what we call rational. Take the emotions out of it and make the best decision for the group. If we're being political, then we're doing it maybe based on our emotions and our opinions, and that's not really sort of the best approach. Okay, so you got to work with your team to to come up with to use facts to make good decisions. This is an interesting trick, and I suggest you guys try this if you're doing some group work and you're getting stuck this semester. So literally changing your physical configuration can actually really help unblock some problem solving. So for example, if you're sitting around a table trying to come up with, I don't know, what are the topics we're going to use? We're going to talk economics, this, that. You're debating. You're not coming to a final answer, right? I suggest you stand up, seriously, and I've done this. So if we're just sitting around a boardroom sometimes, if everybody stands up and starts writing things down on the board, just physically changing your environment can actually really help with like moving past a roadblock, where we are sort of stuck on some ideas. Okay, anybody, well, we'll just take a breather because I'm doing a lot of talking here. So does anybody want to share, I don't know if you guys like to do this, but does anybody want to share an experience they had, either a good one or a bad one, doing group work, whether it was at Seneca College or another academic institution? Anybody have a story they would like to share with the class? Not really. Yeah, I'm going to share one with you guys. So I think I told you guys during week one, a long time ago, I did my MBA at Schulich at York University, right? So I was in a group of 8 people, and we had a group member that was super critical, but not in a positive way, And we had a very diverse, culturally diverse group. We had people from China and Taiwan and India and some Canadians, and people didn't know how to respond to this one group member's like really aggressive approach, right? The problem was she was like really bright, really smart, and one of our highest achievers in our group. But after like a lot of debate and interpersonal conflict and problems, we came to the decision that we would have to fire her from our group. And so we went to the faculty, the professors that were supervising our group project. It's like an 8-month-long sort of top to bottom company analysis. And we made the case. We presented our reasons for why we think there's 8 of us in this group, but we would be better, even without our highest performer, we would be better with only 7 because there's too much conflict. And they said, okay. So we fired her from our group. So sometimes in the world of work, but also at school and in other environments, you have to fire people. It's not pleasant. It's not a nice way to do it, but sometimes in life we have to make some difficult decisions, right? Okay, so here's some general rules from engagement. I just want to move on to some ways of, finding solutions. There's two primary techniques I want to share with you guys. So the first one is brainstorming. Someone mentioned this earlier, right? So brainstorming is kind of fun because it's about like outside the box thinking, and you got to have a group of, 3, 4, 5 to 7 people, right? You can't have too many people because the idea is just throw ideas against the wall, throw ideas out there, right? And see what people think. And sometimes it can get kind of funny because people are proposing things that seem ridiculous. But sometimes those things that seem ridiculous end up being the solutions that work, okay? So we look for quantity and variety of ideas, okay, when we're brainstorming, okay? Sometimes you're combining ideas or someone suggests something and you give an improvement, right? What's really important though, because everybody's just throwing out their ideas, somebody needs to be dedicated to making notes, okay? I do this in the classroom when we're in the classroom live, right? Students start throwing out all these great ideas. Somebody has to record it. Somebody has to have the job of secretary. Otherwise, all the ideas get forgotten, okay? And so brainstorming is a great approach to solving problems when you need original ideas. You need some sort of unique solutions, okay? There's another technique which is more formal and structured, and this is maybe something that you can use when you need to arrive at a solution more quickly, okay? And this is called the nominal group technique. So the nominal group technique involves, coming together as a group, all right? And then presenting the idea or the question or the problem. Okay, hey everybody, how maybe you guys can relate to this. How can we decrease the cost of tuition for students at Seneca? Right? That's a good problem, right? And so once we've clarified exactly the situation we want to address, okay, now everybody goes in their own direction. So you go to your own chair, you go to your own office, to your own cubicle, right? People separate and they write down their suggestions independently. And then you look at your list of suggestions and you say, okay, I'm going to present my very best idea. So if you're a group of like 5 people, right? Every 5 different people are going to present their best ideas to the group. And those are going to be the alternatives. Those are going to be the options. Okay, these 5 suggestions. So you discuss it, you make sure you've clarified everything, and then maybe you have like a rubric or a matrix or something that you can use to score these 5 suggestions, right? And you rate them from best to worst, and the best idea is chosen. So the advantage of this is more formal and maybe a little bit less creative than brainstorming, but the advantage is you can get to a solution quickly, so that's helpful as well. Okay, so let's see here. Switching gears to presentations, and I've got a lot of slides for you, but I think it's going to go by quickly. I'm going to try to get you guys out of here by 4 o'clock today. I don't want to make it, these virtual sessions can be long. Before I switch gears and get into presentation skills, do you guys have any questions or concerns? Gio, I'll just take a quick break here. Gio, I see you you have a question about the term tests. So the 2 term tests and the final exam are going to have the same format, okay? So I'm going to open it up on like Monday morning at 9 o'clock of the week it's due. So if it's like week 5, it's week 5, Monday morning, 9 o'clock, I open up a test. You go into Blackboard and you can open it anytime between Monday at 9 and Friday at 5 p.m., okay? And so it's open book, multiple choice, true or false questions based on the slides, the lecture slide material, okay? And so if you're organized and you have all your file, no problem. if you have your files open, I think it's an opportunity for everybody to do well. You know, those tests, I don't want you memorizing every detail, but I want you to show you're resourceful and go get the information you need, okay? All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's get through this presentation material, and then I promise I'll let you get on with your afternoons, okay? Okay, why are presentations important? They're a huge opportunity to show that you can do all these things, right? It's pretty intimidating. And for many of us, like in the Seneca community, I know that English is not necessarily the first language, right? So that's intimidating to get up in front of a room full of people and give a presentation, and maybe your second language. For some folks, it's their third language. But it demonstrates so much. It shows that you can research and plan and pull this visual piece of information together and communicate it to people. So it's a real opportunity to showcase your skills, right? So many people that I know in their professional lives have said, you know, after they've given a presentation to some groups of people at work, said, oh, that really changed things for me. People started, you know, viewing me differently because you showed them all of these excellent things that you can do, right? So as much as we don't always love presentations, right? It's such a good skill to develop. And that's why your props, that's why we make you do it, right? Because we see that it's valuable part of your development, okay? So, you know, pretty straightforward. You got to do some planning, and then you've got to pull all your research and information together and write a story, right? You're presenting a story. And then when it comes to completing it, we're talking about like getting ready to speak. So does anybody get like some anxiety when their presentations are coming up in class? Anybody get like a little bit of sweaty hands, or their breathing is a little bit, breathing's a little bit short, a little bit tight in the chest? Anybody have these experiences?
I think
Yeah.
I think that everybody has this experience.
Exactly, Maxine. So, and that means us too, right? Like professors as well. Maybe it doesn't seem like it sometimes because we do so much public speaking, right? But everybody does. It's totally normal, right? So it's important to recognize that, understand it, and then adapt and do the things we got to do to try to overcome, right? Okay, so in the planning process, we're analyzing the situation. Audience profile means like, who am I actually speaking to, right? Who's this for? Because if I'm presenting to a bunch of engineers, maybe I can be a lot more technical. But if I'm presenting to school children, well, maybe I have to use sort of different language, right? So considering the circumstances. So, you know, if you're addressing a group of employees and they've just found out that, you know, half the staff is going to be let go, you know, fired from their jobs, they're not going to be in a very good mood, right? So you don't want to just go in making jokes and being happy. You have to recognize what's going on in the group of people that I'll be dealing with, right? Organizing your presentation so you can take a linear approach, which is like what I do every week, right? When we get together, I got a set of slides and I go from start to finish, and I try to tell you a story about, you know, what we're covering in class. You can also take a non-linear approach. So has anybody tried a presentation with Prezi before? Anybody use Prezi or software other than PowerPoint? I'd be curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried Prezi.
Prezi, yes.
Yeah, and how do you guys like it?
It's fun, it's easier.
Interesting.
Yeah, you just
And
get
it's
to use the templates and then present it, and then it's kind of like an animated version, and where it like makes it more interesting to grab the attention of the viewers.
Yeah, like I notice when students use it, thanks for those comments, guys. Like I notice when students use it, it's very compelling for me, right? And students sometimes doesn't have to be as linear either. Sometimes they'll go back to some information they talked about before. So keep that in mind, right? In terms of, you know, you're going to prepare some material to talk about in our class here. So, you know, you don't have to do it a certain way, right? All right. Okay. What's really important though is your main idea. Has anybody heard the term, like the expression, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them? Right? This is a pretty common approach with presentation skills where there's really like one main idea you typically want to communicate, right? So for you guys in your country projects, it might be that, I don't know, the economy of, the economy of China is growing quickly. And that's the central idea. And you talk about culture and arts and sports and other things, but, you know, you're coming back to some main idea, okay? Limiting your scope. Now, this is important because when it comes to your presentations, you're going to have a time limit. So you can't say everything, right? You can't talk about absolutely everything. And you want to keep people engaged and focused. So limiting your scope means choose the best parts and focus on those, okay? You're not going to be able to cover every aspect of your topic, okay? And then just like a paper, just like an essay for a presentation, you should have an outline. What's the main idea? What are the subsections? What are the bits of supporting information? And how am I going to organize all this stuff, right? All this research I do or all this material I pull together. How am I going to organize it so that I'm telling a story that is coherent and compelling and engaging, like a story that is interesting for people, okay? So use an outline to do that. Choose a good title, right? And then the audience, right? In a large auditorium, we got to be a little more formal, right? We got to be a little more serious. In a small group like this one, right? There's 25 of us here. We can be informal, right? When you guys present, you can be informal. You can use a little bit of humor, right? That keeps people engaged and interested. It's just harder in a room like the one in the image here. It's harder to say, okay, who here has an example of a time that they really enjoyed themselves on vacation, right? You're going to get 100 people put up their hands. It's not manageable, right? But in a small group, we can do that, okay? So consider what's going on with that audience, all right? Okay. And then developing your presentations. So you need these there you go. Tell them what you'll tell them, and then tell them what you told them, right? And those are what the sort of main pieces of your presentation is about. In the intro, you're setting it up, but always kind of bring yourself back to the main point, the main idea. What's the most important thing about this presentation? I want to share with the group, right? Okay, and then getting people's attention. What do you guys think are techniques that could be used if you're giving a presentation on a country, right? What do you think are techniques that could be used to get the audience engaged in your presentation? What could you do? Any ideas?
I think one thing you can do is to raise some questions to have an interaction with them. And also, sometimes you can slow down or keep quiet, that everyone will focus on you.
Excellent. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think your first point about asking a question is a great way to start, Vincent. Like, you know, if you're presenting on, for example, right, if you're presenting on China, you could start, hey, good afternoon, everyone. Has anyone ever been to China, right? Or how many people here are from China? Yeah, Sonia, you're breaking the ice, right? So you're engaging the audience, right? You're getting them involved. You're asking them a question. That's another good one. An impressive picture, right? Like a nice visual piece, right? To get people thinking and seeing things, right? Establishing your credibility, for me, you know, that's important. So like in week one of our first lecture, right, I tell you guys, hey, here are the things I've been doing, right? I have an education, I do some teaching, I do some research, and I want to make sure you guys know that, I've been hired to teach this course, and it's not like they're just hiring anybody. They're hiring someone that should be able to capably teach you, right? So it's important for me to communicate to you that, okay, you can trust that I'm gonna do my best to teach you a good class here, right? Okay. Here are some ideas, just some other ideas, okay? Uniting the audience around a common goal. Does anybody here, so if I came into a room with you guys and said, hey, does anybody here feel like Seneca tuition is too expensive? How do you think you guys would respond? Yes, right? It would be a loud, strong yes. And maybe that would be, part of my presentation, but it would be a way to unite us around something, right? Telling a story, maybe giving sort of an example that something people can hold on to in their hands. Like Vincent said, ask a question, get people thinking about your topic. Maybe there's a shocking detail, or it kind of follows like the suggestion about, starting with an impressive picture, something like that, right? Okay. All right, so the introduction, it's important not to just see the introduction as like some summary background information, right? It's actually an opportunity to get the audience on your side, Tell people about your qualifications. Tell people why they should listen to you. That's what you're doing. By being engaging, you're giving people a reason to listen to you, right? Oops. And now when you get into the sort of main sections, present what are the most important pieces? What's the main point? What are the main sub points, right? Secondary points, right? And then as you're communicating those, you have to find ways to keep the audience interested, because it's the middle part where people, they start to lose their focus, right? It's normal. It's human nature. We start to maybe think about, hey, what am I going to do for dinner? What's this? What's that, right? So we want to keep people focused, and so we could ask more questions, right? Halfway through our presentation, ask a couple of questions, show some really interesting visuals, right? Here are some suggestions for that, right? Asking people's opinion. People like it when you ask them, hey, what do you think about this? Anticipating, maybe right? I'm going to present this thing. They're definitely going to be curious about some part of my presentation. So maybe I can address it with them, And then you come to the close, to the conclusion, right? The close is just another way of saying conclusion. We want to make sure we restate our main points. So people really remember the first part and the last part of our presentations. They don't always remember the middle. So make sure at the end, we, repeat the main things we want them to take away from our presentation, right? And then give a clear conclusion. Now, this is some advice that I like to give students, right? So a lot of times when students give presentations and they come to the end, they don't say anything. So they'll just finish talking on their last slide. And then there's a pause, and I say, okay, are you done? And they're like, yep. And then we give, a round of applause, right? Bravo, you did it. But you should be clear about that, right? So people are not wondering if you're finished or not. So how can you do that? You can say, all right, everybody, thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you. Right? That's an easy way to just say, I've finished now. Clap for me, right? It's over. So now you can know, right? And ending on a strong note, that's, thanking people for their time. Maybe finishing with, hey, hopefully we can collaborate together on a project like this one in the future. Thank you very much, right? Some positive finishing touch to leave people feeling good, right? At the end of it, you want them to remember you, and you want them to feel good about having spent some time listening to you. Okay. All right. Some other important pieces, and when it comes to your infographics, it'll be important that you have some nice visuals. Keep the text as minimal as possible, right? You don't want people reading your slides or your poster. You want them paying attention to what you're saying, okay? So, you know, be kind of meaningful with what you select to put in terms of text, okay? Charts and tables can be really good as long as they're not too detailed. So if you put a table with, you know, 15 columns and 25 rows, there's just going to be too many numbers. But if you have some, you know, specific data, some specific numbers to share, that can be very powerful. So you can use like tables and graphs to explain so much, right? And practicing. Who here know how easy it is for me to do a poll? Let me just see polls. Is it complicated for me to create a poll in Zoom? Let me see. Just take a second here, guys. Polls next. Okay. I'm going to give you one choice. Let's see. Yes or no? Do you practice in front of your mirror? All right. I want to send you guys this poll. There we go. Launch a poll. Can you guys see that? You have a presentation coming due. Do you practice in front of your mirror? Okay, I could see you could see it because I'm getting some answers. All right. See, what do you guys think? Most people yes, most people no. All right, 60% of you say no. Well, you should. All right, I encourage you to do it. All right, so there you go. I'll see if you can see this sharing results. Yeah, so especially before I got much experience doing it, I did it, you know, and, you know, it helps you sort of see yourself in terms of like, you know, what you look like, where you're looking, where your eyes are looking. It's also useful, like if you're going to go into a class, this is more sort of for live presentations in classrooms, but if you're going to go in there, check the projector, right? Make sure if you've got it on a cloud, stored on a cloud somewhere, make sure you can retrieve your file, right? Some little practical things. Are you taking enough time? Are you taking too much time, right? Delivery is such a big part. I see students sometimes put together some wonderful visual presentations, but the execution is a little bit of a challenge, right? It doesn't come off the best because maybe the student hasn't practiced, right? Are you ready for some questions, right? Different ways to do it. You can memorize everything. So that's not the best choice though, because you know, if you get distracted and your mind can kind of go blank, you can lose it all, right? You could read, right? You could read the text, and sometimes that's useful when you have to be very precise about what you're saying. But probably the best compromise is when you have some notes, right? And you're looking at your notes, and then you're looking up and making eye contact as well, right? Important things for us all to remember. Everybody gets anxiety about presentations. You don't need to feel like, you know, the pressure is on you to be the best presenter in the room. If you practice quite a few times, it'll definitely reduce the amount of anxiety that you feel. Picture yourself doing a great job. Be prepared, right? Remember to breathe. This is an important one. So sometimes people get so tense, right? Just a deep breath can really help, right? Try to maybe think about what you're going to say is your first line. That breaking of the ice can really help, you know. Getting comfortable. And what I mean by this is actually like wearing clothing that is comfortable for you. If you feel like your mind is racing, things are going too fast, take a breath. Someone said this before. I think maybe Vincent mentioned it, right? It's okay to have a moment where you're silent. If you're in a live presentation, it's always useful to have a water bottle handy, available, right? And you can just take a pause, take a drink of water, and it's 2 or 3 seconds, but it allows you to have a bit of a like mental reset, you know? So keep that in mind. Okay, so I like to tell students, you know, there's this thing called the anxiety chart, and if you have a graph like this, this is time. This is, we'll put S for stress level. And if this is like presentation day, we'll call it PD for presentation day. Usually this is how the stress levels work, right? You got this low line, not too bad, right? But as you approach the presentation, let's just do this so we know this is the day, right? As you approach it, oh boy, the stress levels increase. Oh, it really spikes. And then you do your presentation and you breathe. You have this emotional kind of crash letdown. And anytime I have students doing group presentations, at the end of the class, the end of the section, people are smiling because we're proud that we can get up, you know, in front of our friends and colleagues and show that we can do it, right? You prove to yourself that you can do it. So remember that when it comes time to present, all right? If you're feeling some anxiety, remember that you're going to feel great when you get through it, okay? When it comes to questions, I mean, you want to keep your cool. Sometimes if you really don't know the answer to a question, you can say so, right? You can say, sorry, I'm not, you know, I didn't research that when I was working on this. I'll find out and I'll get back to you, you know? Don't feel like you have to have every answer for every possible scenario, but try to address everybody who has a question, okay? All right, so that is it. Wow, we had a lot of slides today, a lot of information. I apologize if it's kind of hard to follow because there's so many, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of ideas on sort of how to set up your groups, how to work on your presentations, and sort of prepare for the infographic and the paper. I'm looking at it now. We got some nice teams coming together, so I encourage you to go to the link and join a team. If you have some questions or concerns about the group work, just email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Any other questions or concerns, guys, before we finish for the day?
Hi, Professor. Yeah, I have some questions. First is how long time we are given for presentation. Second is all the member will give the presentation at the same time. And last question is about whether we will have the question and answer part at the last part of presentation.
Oh, good question. Okay, so I'm just gonna open the assignment description because for many of the questions people will have, some of it will be explained here. So I'm gonna show you in our Blackboard page, okay? Here on the left side, we have assignments, and here's the assignment description, okay? So I just opened it, and I think I have to share it. Okay, there we go, it's open. Where's my meeting? Oh, here we go. Share my Word document. There we go. Okay, so you're going to be presenting as a group, okay? A group of 4. And then you're going to be, so you're going to be presenting this infographic poster, okay? And you're going to have a 10-minute limit. And that's important because it's the amount of time we have in class, we can only really afford like 10-minute presentations, okay? And here I explained you need to be prepared to answer a few questions at the end. And I'm really going to encourage you guys to ask the questions, okay? And so, I'll have some questions, of course, but I would prefer it if the questions to students were coming from the students, right? So it's part of sort of being focused and paying attention to what your class, all the hard work your classmates have done. You'll be encouraged to ask the questions to each other. And then I'll ask questions if you guys don't ask questions. So if you want to avoid my questions, ask each other questions because we'll probably leave 10 minutes for your presentation, of course, but we'll probably leave about 2 or 3 minutes for Q&A. So just a couple of questions for each group. Okay. So I brought this up. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
One more question, Professor. How could I reach out with our other group members as it is an online class and maximum of us don't know each other?
Yeah, so, good question. So if most of you don't know each other, I think maybe I'll send out introductory emails to those groups that have formed today. And I'll say, here's your email. Say hello to your group members. Here's your country, your chosen country, right? And then you guys, once you have each other's emails, you can connect and maybe you can decide, hey, the easiest way for us to communicate is let's share phone numbers, set up a WhatsApp group or whatever. But I can I can connect you with your email addresses if you think that would be helpful. I just saw, Marco, you said you can find email addresses for your classmates on Blackboard. Is that right? Okay. So even better, if you guys do it, you're not waiting on me. Take a look at your group on the shared file, right? And then I'm not sure, so let's see. I'm gonna share. Yeah, if you guys decide you want to meet in Zoom, that's great. I'm gonna share my Chrome here with you guys real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the student preview. This is the way it should look for you guys. Tools, send email, select users. That's what you can do. And look at that. There's the names of your classmates. Perfect. Does everybody see that? See, I'm learning at the same time as you guys. This is great. Okay, so if I'm in a group with Jenny and Abhishek and Dong Hyun, I can do that. I can bring the names across, right? And project. I don't know, you guys, I don't think you're all in the same group, so I'm not going to send it, but here's your opportunity, right? You can write an email that way. So are you guys all comfortable doing that? When you see that you've got people that you're working with on this group list, you can find their names and send them an email through Blackboard. Is everybody okay with that? I think that would be the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I have a question about the movie is Plant of the Human? In the addendum, we have the time to next Tuesday to upload our document. reports for you. But Tuesday midnight, we have time.
Oh, I thought I made it for Friday. Did I make it Tuesday?
Yeah, you put it Tuesday. That's why I asking. I'm not sure. Just 1 second. I am searching for the. Yes, you put it.
Here's what I'm looking at. So there's an assignment description, right, for Planet of the Humans, and so I'll just show you. Here we go. This is the part where I've got the questions for you, and so I just set it up here. It says week.
No, you put
4,
it Friday. Yes, Friday. I found it.
Yeah. So Friday of next week. So you still have, about 10 days. February 3rd.
Okay.
Is that? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, February 3rd. Okay. We have this to Friday. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anything else, guys, while we're here together in class? Anybody have any other questions or concerns? Okay. Well, thank you guys for all of you guys are really great with your participation and your questions. So thank you for being so engaged. I wish everybody an excellent week ahead, and enjoy your group formations. If you're having any trouble, contact me. Otherwise, you can get started on your group projects, and I hope it all goes well for everybody. All right, guys. So keep working hard and have some fun, and we'll connect again next week. All right. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
great
Have a good day.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.